The spring of 1863 was a particularly precarious time to travel through the Colorado Territory. Residents and migrants alike in the region feared for their lives as reports flooded in of lone travelers mysteriously disappearing, only for their mutilated bodies to be later found in a remote gully or hidden in the brush of the mountainsides. Numerous lookouts were posted throughout the territory to keep watch of any suspicious characters or unusual activity. But nearly 25 victims would succumb to this mysterious murder and spree before law enforcement would find any clues as to the identity of the killer. I'm Jake Storielli, and in today's episode of Laughs from the Past, we'll dive into a little talked about story of Mexican American relations and a violent frontier society, culminating in a murderous spree that sent the people of the Colorado Territory into a panic in the spring of 1863. The Wild West was truly wild. Welcome to America's first serial killer, folks.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Laughs from the Past. It's season 8, episode 9, The Wild West. We've been enjoying our time out west and hearing the stories. We've done the Donner Party. We've done the crash at Crush, 2 trains crashing into each other. We've done Billy the Kid. And we are now doing the first serial killer. I know nothing of this story. Producer Noah wrote it for us, researched it for us, and says it's a good one. So I'm excited. Jake, are you ready to hear about a serial killer?
I think so. Giant miss from my end on the start, because as you mentioned, Noah did preface us telling us about the first serial killer, and it's like, oh, that's cool. For whatever reason, that did not compute in my brain about what a serial killer would be doing. So when I got to the line about mutilated bodies, I was like, oh boy, I thought we did the Donner Party and we were moving on to the fun stuff. But yeah.
This may be fun.
25 kills. Sure.
Sure. It may be fun. There's just a chance, Felipe sounds like a good name.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to do I was thinking maybe a Latin accent because Felipe, but I thought that'd be rude representing the first serial killer. So I just tried to get as deep as I could, and it was uncomfortable and not pleasant.
You hurt yourself?
A little bit, neck cramp, and it's just not a great low voice. I just can't get down there. Every time Scottie Pippen talked during the Last Dance documentary, I laughed out loud. Just I can't believe it's down there.
Yeah, Michael, he's got away with words. It's crazy.
And there's no rasp to it. It's just like a note. It's like hitting the lowest note you can hit on a guitar. And it's like, whoa, dude. like water starts reverberating.
Reverberating. Good word. Shout out to you. 1 point.
Is that a word? Yeah.
Sure. Bounce around.
Nice.
All right, let's get straight into the story. Felipe Espinosa. If you're driving south on Highway 115, just outside of Fort Carson, you may notice a lonely little headstone on the southeast side of the road. Near this spot, one of Frontier, Colorado's most brutal murders took place in 1863, forever giving this little stretch of road the moniker Dead Man's Canyon. Great name.
So wait, this is the first of the murders we're assuming, and they're labeling it Dead Man's Canyon?
Well, it might not have got labeled that back in 1863. That might be that maybe that once. Well, I mean, if you find a dead guy in a canyon, yeah, Dead Man's Canyon. That's how.
Well, that's what I'm kind of wondering early, and I know it's early to jump into our normal self-fulfilling prophecy thing, but I don't know, maybe this guy killed one person, who knows what really happened, and then they name it Dead Man's Canyon, and this guy starts peacocking hard.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like
Yeah,
you just made his kill last forever, and now
that
he's
is a
like,
Dead Man's Canyon.
what other landmarks can I name after my kills? So then he starts, maybe he finds a hilltop that he likes. And now he's like, I got a canyon. Now I get, Dead Man's Hilltop. And now he's just going around the countryside, like, finding land that he can name after himself. Okay.
How, and again, early big jump, but B, I think it's more funny that Wild Wild West, there was a road called Dead Man's Canyon because someone got killed going through it. And like people, I'm guessing, assume keep going through it. Where I don't know, if I knew there was a Dead Man's Canyon, I'm probably not bumping through there nowadays.
Yeah. Smart. Like, nah. Guy
I'm
died
good.
there. Yeah. Find like a little lake. Kill a guy there. Dead Man's Lake. I wonder if
Sure.
they got any more names. About a half a mile from the spot of this grave in the early 1860s, a pioneer named Henry Harkins established a sawmill with his friend Murdoch McPherson. Whoa. Holy smokes.
Mm-hmm.
Two names right out the bat there. Henry Harkins and Murdoch McPherson. Those are great names.
Not to be rude to Henry.
I'm making Henry Harkins good. It's a lot of
yeah, Murdoch McPherson is that's top notch.
Yeah. One afternoon, McPherson and another employee named Bassett decided to quit work and take a walk down the canyon. Harkins, who everyone fondly called Uncle Henry, stayed behind to get supper started. That's an uncle move. I gotta cook. Not really an uncle move. More of a father-mother move. Anyway, okay. We don't know exactly what happened next, but the scene likely played out like this.
And this ties into a little bit of your what happens in the past and how the story gets told. But hey, we don't know what happens, but let's listen to this one.
Yeah. Just our best guess here.
Yeah, your guys are going to like this one. So here it is.
He strolled out the door in the fading afternoon light, but not 6 feet from his cabin door, before he could grab an axe to chop wood, he heard the sound of hoofbeats. He looked up to see two riders approaching with pistols drawn. A mile down the canyon, a priest family. A priest family? I mean, you can't have a family full of priests. Okay, the priest. Oh, the priest. Oh, okay. I don't know if the audience can hear producer Noah, but he says the Priest family. So it's the last name is Priest. That's tough. I'm going to switch this real quick, and then I'm going to go to this screen with you guys on it, but then I'm going to change your video, and this way, if you talk, we can hear you when you chime in. The Priest family. That makes a lot more sense because you can't have a family full of priests unless it's their last name. So a mile down the canyon, the Priest family was settling down for dinner. Not long after, just as the Priest family sat down at the table, their door crashed open. It was McPherson and Bassett. Oh, that's illegal. If we cannot refer to McPherson as McPherson, it was Murdoch McPherson and Bassett. That's a full name at all times name. It was Murdoch McPherson and Bassett, gasping for breath and barely able to choke out the words. Harkins had been murdered, they said, and their cabin had been ransacked, but they saw no one. You know what? I mean, this is tough, but you know what? The visual just came to my head.
Sure.
When our good friend Nick Proch, who also hosts the show Talkin' Folk on the John Boy Media Network, used to walk into the bubble. That's how I have these guys walking into this, They were barely able, gasping for breath and barely able to choke. And if you know those big bubbles that they put Sporting Complex in, Nick used to walk in and just act like they were sucking all the air out of him. That's how I have these guys. Fair?
Fair. I'm with you every step.
Okay. So Henry Harkins was murdered. The men shouldered their rifles and cautiously hiked up the canyon to investigate the scene. Doing my own Foley noises. Don't.
It's just little special effects added.
That's them walking.
I will say this is very much the 1800s version of like a dad in a cul-de-sac with a broken carburetor, and like all the other dads are, what's that? A carburetor? Let me come over. And then you end up with 5 guys who don't know what a carburetor is staring at a car engine. Except, again, going back in time, we're talking about a murder. So
what's happening out there? In an interview years later, Priest described, again, not a priest. His just last name is Priest. That's very confusing. Yes. Must have sucked for his whole life. Priest described how they discovered Uncle Henry sprawled on the ground. He had a gunshot wound in his forehead and knife gashes on his chest. Ugh.
Doesn't get better.
Why'd you have to cut him in the chest? You're just going to kill him. The bloodthirsty killers had then grabbed the axe and
chop.
Yeah.
Are we not doing sound effects?
No, good sound effect there. The bloodthirsty killers then grabbed the axe and
then what?
And split open his head from forehead to mouth. Then, with the blunt end of the axe, they smashed each side of his head.
Boop, boop, boop.
So that his brains oozed into the dirt above his broken skull. Noah, this was so descriptive, man. He was found with his heart hacked out of his chest.
Chop, chop, chop.
The killing spree had begun. Fuck, man. Thank God for those sound effects.
It's like a watermelon.
I'd like to take a step back. And I think the label of Dead Man's Canyon is fine.
Yeah.
This doesn't seem like an accident at this point.
Yo, I mean, it could have been an accident, Jake. I don't know if they ruled it out immediately.
That's tough.
Yeah, that's a pretty brutal story. Okay.
Only thing I've got off of that is one of the lines, as you mentioned, was split open his head from forehead to mouth.
Mm-hmm.
In between the forehead and the mouth is well known as the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Did he split the nose? Because I'm interested in that.
I think what happened was Henry had lost his nose in the war prior. So it was an easy place to just split. Like there was already kind of a gap, a dented gap.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's good. It was just an aiming spot, really. Okay. Felipe Nerio Espinoza. Felipe Espinoza was born in 1827 in a cramped jackal outside El Rito, New Mexico, then under Mexican rule. What's a jackal, Jake?
That's a thatched wattle and daub hut.
Ooh. I mean, I love when you have to Google words and then Google words within the description of the word you just Googled. What did you say? A thatched waggle and dog hut?
What do you mean I Googled? Jackal. Actually, I don't think you pronounced the J. I think it's a jacal.
Oh, a cramped jacal.
And it's an Adobe style housing structure historically found throughout parts of the southwestern United States and Mexico.
Okay, a hut.
It's a hut. It's a hut.
Is this the next line that Noah wrote? The jacal is an Adobe. Did you just paste that, or was that there?
I wrote that.
Oh, okay. So I guess we could just read the next line next time.
Great, genuinely good producing, Noah, but
our bad.
No, thank you.
The hackle is an Adobe-style housing structure historically found throughout parts of the Southwestern. We did our own research here. We're good. Okay. His parents raised him to be patriotic and intensely religious. From 1846 to 1848, 6 members of his family would be killed fighting in the Mexican-American War. Felipe and his brother Jose had reportedly witnessed some of these killings firsthand. Thus, for both of them, that patriotism would boil into vengeful nationalism.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, that's a recipe for someone who's kind of has a different view on death, I would say.
Yeah. Slightly different upbringing.
Of his physical appearance, little is known outside of witnesses' description of his overdeveloped jaw and toothy jack-o'-lantern grin.
What's an overdeveloped jaw?
I don't know. Like a Jay Leno?
A lot of jaw?
That's a lot of chin, I guess. I'm Googling Google image overdeveloped jaw. Oh, like a square, like a Lego. Yeah, it's
Okay.
like a Lego face. Box head. So box head
Quagmire.
and a very Quagmire, yeah.
Soup man.
Ooh. Looking for belonging after the war, he would go on to join the Fraternity of Catholic Flagellants. Just a bunch of Catholic people farting nonstop.
Mm.
Known as the Holy Brotherhood of the Blood of our Lord Jesus Christ. Jesus. The Holy Brotherhood of the Blood. The Holy Brotherhood of the Blood of our Lord Jesus Christ.
I mean, cults would laugh at that title.
It's too much. I mean, is there a cool acronym there? HBOBO. Oh, no. No, not really. Habaftabal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or simply known.
Or simply the.
simply known as the.
I think we just have to keep reading.
Or simply known as the penitentes. Penitentes. That's not that simple, to be honest. Penitentes?
Dead days, you got there.
Oh, they would openly whip themselves. That's cool. Aided by
that.
yeah, sure. Aided, you got to feel alive. Aided by a religious group, Felipe would adopt a zealous spirituality that would, over time, steadily drive him into madness. So the guy's crazy. Just a nut job.
Yeah, adds
Yeah,
up.
you got to be careful of overdeveloped jaws, you know?
Oh, and all of a sudden I'm on Felipe's side.
Yeah, they have a picture here of what they say.
Fantastic
Felipe.
caption. Fantastic caption.
Yeah. The caption's great. I'll try to get the picture on the screen here, but it's basically like a cartoon version, or like if a white person draws this picture and says, "This is what we think Felipe looked like," a lot of Mexican people are like, "That's racist." But this is what
got the Texas Longhorn cowboy outfit on. It's kind of got that burnt orange with some white on the pants, generic Mexican hat of sorts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be rude, but he looks dapper here.
The caption is what he may have looked like.
We don't know. It's just the best guess.
Why not?
What? Okay. Mexican-American relations for Felipe. To be clear, there is no doubt that Mexican-American relations in the newly formed Colorado Territory were not good. Along with this new territory came new taxes and new laws created by the newly governing American, who were mostly of Anglo descent. Not all of the now ex-Mexican nationals read or spoke English, or were confused by the new laws and taxes levied by an expanding federal government. Discontent had reached a boiling point for many of the Mexican families, but for Felipe and the Espinosas, relations may have been especially bad. I mean, yeah. I mean, if like a government that doesn't even speak the same language come and taxing you up, and you're like, I don't care. I don't understand what you're saying.
I mean, literally, literally try to imagine. Our country is freaking out because barbershops and gyms are closed. What if the Russians came in and said, we're taking half your paycheck? Like, yeah, that's bad times.
That's called being French.
Yeah.
Sure. I, as the writer, need to add in a caveat for this next part. It is generally accepted that a number of Felipe's family were killed in the Mexican-American War. This is confirmed by military records. However, other stories, which have come from a combination of his journal, third-person reporting, cannot be fully collaborated. So take this as you will. Relatives claimed Felipe had a vision from the Virgin Mary, telling him to kill 100 Anglos for every member of his family lost during the Mexican-American War, and this was the driving point for his subsequent actions. I mean, yeah, I could see how that makes a good tale, you know? Eye for an eye. And the whole world doesn't cry.
I can't prove it's false.
Yeah. And you tried.
Tried.
One version says the Espinosas were on a mission for revenge after American soldiers raped Felipe's wife and daughters, and in response, Felipe killed a soldier who had raped his sister. According to this version, more soldiers came to the ranch and killed everyone there as revenge for the soldier's death, then took possession of the land and everything on it. I choose to not believe that version, because I don't like thinking about rape.
Yeah. And well, let's get the bullet points out of the way.
All right. Next up, another version says atrocities committed by American soldiers against Mexicans in his area, coupled with the idea of manifest destiny and Anglo-American exceptionalism, drove him to murdering madness. That seems like, I understand that. I don't understand like the killing, but I understand this dude is clearly a crazy person. I think, the rape, of course that's going to drive him to get revenge. But, the manifest, white people coming and stealing everything from him and his people is enough. Not to warrant it or excuse it, but when you have a crazy person, enough to drive a crazy person to do this.
Yeah, and maybe there's a term for it, maybe there's not, and we need to create one. The same Nick approach you mentioned earlier, me and him used to have some conversations about, like, not if something like this happened, because this is extreme, but kind of like the movie scene where the guy comes back and kills everyone. Like, the guy has his family murdered in front of him, and then he's the classic, like, got nothing to lose. It's if I get killed doing it, like, this is how it goes out. And we said, there's a little bit like, hey, if someone slaughtered my family and that's it, and I hit this point of rage where, like, my only mission on the planet is to kill the person who did that, there's kind of a rush there. I don't know.
I got a vendetta.
It's not exactly what we're dealing with. But hey, I mean, if some of this is true, you see why a person could start killing.
Reason to be mad.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. So whatever the reasons, it was very clear that the Espinosas hated all white Americans. In his journal, he wrote, can you do this in your best Felipe Espinosa impression?
They ruined our family. They took everything in our house. First our beds and blankets, then our provisions. Seeing this, we said we would rather be dead than see such infamies committed on our families. These were the reasons we had to go out and kill Americans. Revenge for infamies committed on our families.
It's perfect.
Yeah, powerful.
I had him a little more high pitch.
Yeah, just kind of came out that way. He's a killer.
They ruined our family.
They ruined our family.
It's not funny, Jake.
No,
talking about a serious issue here. The first years of the killing spree. To be clear, despite the hardships he may or may not have faced at the hands of white settlers, Felipe was not a good person.
Yeah, I was laughing because I feel like anytime I've seen like something labeled the first years, it's like, how the Bulls dynasty came together or something like that. And it's like, oh, these are his early killing years.
Yeah. He's just starting out. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
To be clear, I already read that. At age 26, Felipe broke into the home of 17-year-old Maria Hurtado and her 11-year-old sister, Eugenia, fellow Mexicans, and kidnapped the two girls. After brutally whipping Maria and holding Eugenia, am I saying that right? Eugenio? Hostage.
Yeah, you're around it.
Felipe finally agreed to, finally agreed to release Eugenio to her father in exchange for Maria's hand in marriage. Oh, man, Felipe, that's not how you get things done. That's a bad route. Yeah, okay.
Disagree.
It's a bad route.
He got the marriage.
At least he chose the 17-year-old to marry and gave the 11-year-old back. Could have been the reverse.
This is a classic kidnap, the two daughters, you get one back, I marry the other.
I think as we move on with this story, we're going to be like, you know what? Felipe, the kidnapper, wasn't that bad.
We'll see.
Okay. After the birth of a third child in 1862, Felipe gave up his meager bean fields for more lucrative pursuits, horse stealing and freight robbing with his brother. I gotta say, meager bean fields just don't excite the people.
Can you imagine how much beans this dude was eating?
Well, meagers of them.
Still, like you're eating beans, man.
Oh yeah. In early March 1863, soldiers from Fort Garland rode to the Espinosa's home under the guise of Army recruiters. In reality, they were there to bring them to justice after Felipe's thefts had gained attention in the area. Felipe saw through the ruse, however, and opened fire from the windows. I don't think Felipe saw through the ruse. I think he just fucking shot people.
Yeah, he saw military men coming through his house and he's a bandit.
Yeah, like that's not seeing through the roof. It's just like, I'm going to shoot whoever comes up this driveway that I don't know. That's kind of Felipe's mindset I got.
Yeah.
An intense gunfight erupted, with the two brothers shooting out the window as they forced their wives and children to stay low in the house and hand them fresh rounds. Hey, at least they let they forced the kids to stay low. That was nice of them.
Smart.
Trapped, the bandits dashed out the back door, firing wildly as they escaped into the... Why don't you just run right away? That's what I'm saying. If there's a back door, you just run, and you see them coming from far enough away that you can shoot at them, you can just run away, I guess.
Yeah, I think you start the gunfight so there's some nerves, and then you do the chase. I don't know.
How dumb are these soldiers that like, hey, we need to sneak attack him. We don't want him to know we're soldiers. And so instead, so instead of being soldiers that are here to harm him, let's be soldiers that are here to recruit him. Why not just dress up like regular civilian folk, then do the sneak attack? That's one of the worst sneak attacks I've heard.
Dress like bandits. Dress like a bad guy. Say we're here to rob something with you.
It'd be like cops going to like arrest someone with a warrant, and instead of being cops arresting for a warrant, they're still dressed as cops, and they're going to walk up and they're like, actually, we're here just to say hi. Yeah. Psych. It's a bad ruse.
Wasn't good.
Fleeing deep into the mountains of the Sangre de Cristo Range, the two wrote of crimes white Americans had supposedly committed against Felipe, as well as a description of a dream in which the Virgin Mary ordered Felipe to kill 600 gringos, 100 for each of his relatives killed in the Mexican-American War. So we're not even going eye for an eye now. We're going 100 eyes for one eye.
Yeah. Well, 200 eyes for two.
Math is math. However way it adds up. It's a lot of eyes for one eye.
The killing spree.
Yeah. Okay. Aided by his brother, Espinosa began his murder spree in the thinly populated area of what is now Fremont County, Colorado. Have you ever been there?
Fremont, blaze it, baby. Let me see. Fremont County, Colorado. Let's see where we are on the map. Canyon City. Is that Pikes Peak? Okay, so we're just west of Pueblo. So yeah, I've been there once or twice.
Okay. As talked about earlier, the first unfortunate victim was Henry Harkins. They did all that shit to his face and everything. The brothers were random but careful in choosing their victims, and Felipe was the clear leader. In the mountain valley of South Park, they hunted lonely mining camps, watched their victims for sometimes hours before choosing to strike. That sucks. Sometimes they would rush up on their victim before shooting them in the head. Sometimes they would strike from afar, using long-range rifles to kill. Either way, they would follow up the killing by mutilating the bodies. Damn.
That's the part that seems indefensible. Like, I don't think Virgin Mary said anything about that, you know?
Yeah, that's true. You know, if you do truly believe that Virgin Mary ordered you to kill all these men, why are you mutilating them?
No need.
Better than mutilating them before you killed them.
Yeah, but same response. No need for that.
This is years before law-abiding citizen.
Newspapers began referring to the unknown murders as the Axemen of Colorado. Do you think they like that? I don't think they like that. It's not the catchiest of name.
They didn't hate it.
Yeah, I think they were like, hoping out for better. Corpses stared to the sky, wide-eyed, with crude twigs. Did I get it right?
Crude twig crucifixes.
With crude twig crucifixes protruding from bullet holes in their foreheads. Oh, man.
Yeah, we're getting some Boondock Saints type shit.
Yeah. As the murders continued, they became even more gruesome. Bodies were found disemboweled or decapitated. Sometimes crucifixes were carved into their chests. Sometimes stakes were driven through the hearts of murdered. But always, victims were found with their hearts ripped out of their chest. These fuckers. All from the beginning have been marked with a peculiar singularity, the most fiendish and diabolical atrocity, reported Denver's Rocky Mountain News in early May 1863. I didn't like that sentence by whoever wrote that. Just let them know. Too much. In some cases, the amount of money or valuables has been so trifling that it seems incredible that it should excite the cupidity of the most black-hearted murderer to commit so terrible a crime. They thought this was over money? They saw the mutilated bodies and thought this was still like crimes of necessity? Stealing and theft?
Taxes.
What are you, dumb? You don't rob someone because you think they got a good fat wallet and then mutilate their body after. Like, they're just crimes of random passion. Paranoia rippled across the region.
And put crucifixes in their holes.
What's that? And put crucifixes in their holes? Yeah. I mean,
Listen,
clearly, it's not about money, like personal money from the dead. Paranoia rippled across the region. On two separate occasions, citizens of Fairplay in Colorado territory mobbed and lynched travelers simply for being strangers. Well, hold up.
So, Jim, that's what that whole sentence was saying, was that there's trifling. Like, there was some cases where there was so little money involved that they were out for murder, not for money.
That's what I know. I'm saying the fact that they even had to come to that realization is stupid.
Well, yeah, it was in the newspaper, so they were telling folks.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. They were just letting people know, like, hey, this isn't about being rich. This is just crimes of passion. I get it now. That's a good warning to the folks. I rebuke it.
Yeah.
I thought they were like, the detectives were like, well, I guess it's,
We have a couple leads.
I mean, paranoia. I get paranoia, but now they're just lynching strange. I don't know you. You may be the Axeman. You're lynched. Damn. I mean, you're kind of just as bad as Felipe.
Oh, yeah. Salem witch trials.
Oh, in response, Felipe wrote in his manifesto that would later be uncovered. Jake, what did he write?
Gotta have a manifesto. Gotta have a manifesto. I accidentally hit a weird button. Now I've got to click down a whole way because I'm an idiot. All from the beginning. There it is. They ruined our family. They took everything. Seeing this, we said we would rather be dead than see such infamies committed to our families. In killing, one gains his liberty. I am aware that you know of some that I have killed, but others you don't know. It is a sufficient number, however. Good follow-up, Felipe.
That he didn't write that. That does not fit with the whole other vibe of this manifesto.
Just a really sick brag in the middle there. Ask in New Mexico if any other 2 men have ever been known to have killed as many men as the Espinosas. We have killed 32.
Wait, hold up. He gave the specific number. 2 sentences earlier, he goes, it is a significant number, however. And then the 2 sentences later, he's like, it's 32.
Yeah. So he teased it, and then he got too excited, and he gave it up.
Like, as he's writing it, he's like, I am aware that you know of some I've killed, but others you do not know. And then in his head, he's like, I shouldn't tell him. It is a significant number, though. And then at the end, he's like, it's 32. 32.
Maybe he was like, I'm not going to tell him, but I feel like they didn't have good erasers back then. So he was just like, hell, we killed 32.
He just heard doubt the whole way. Because I was doubting him. I was like, yeah, man, every murderer says, oh, there's more. You don't even know the half I did.
Right.
And then by the end, he was like, you know what? There's still going to be doubters. It's 32 bitches. I got 32. I still don't believe him. It's a good number, though. If he was to say like 20, you're like, it's too perfect. 32.
32.
The first mistake. On April 25th, 1863, Felipe did something he had never done before. He missed. His target, a lumberman named Metcalf, who had stumbled upon the brothers in the midst of yet another slaying, escaped in the back of his ox cart with only a minor injury. Metcalf gave descriptions of both assailants, and a posse led by Captain John McCannon. McCannon, that's cool. Of the 3rd Colorado Cavalry struck out the next day along the murderer's trail. The men rode all day and into the night under a full moon. Shortly after daybreak, the posse caught sight of 2 horses hobbled in an aspen meadow within a small canyon. The men moved into position when a short, dark-skinned figure emerged from a thicket. A rifle shot rang out. Wounded, Felipe's brother slammed into a tree trunk and then, staggering, reached for the pistol on his hip. A second bullet struck him in the head, though, and he crumbled to the ground. Suddenly, a second figure burst out of cover, running for the trees. The party took aim, but McCannon yelled, "For God's sake, don't kill Billy Young." What? Who's Billy Young?
That's a younger Jake and John Boy would be screaming that at the top of our lungs at a Thursday night bar night.
Who's Billy Young? Did I miss that guy?
Keep reading.
Okay. The man wore an expensive-looking coat that resembled the one worn by one of those posse members named Young. And just to let everyone know, Young has an H at the end. I don't know how to pronounce it. Young?
You got it.
Young with an H.
Young with an H.
Young. When the man spun around to reveal his black bushy beard and gigantic teeth, the men realized they had made a mistake. But by then it was too late. Felipe whirled into the trees and vanished. Posse men cut off his brother's head as proof of the killing. That's not necessary. You have the whole dead body. Why you got cut off the head?
You need the proof.
we see he was dead. We cut off his head to prove it. Why? You didn't even do that. You just show us the body, you know? Put it on a fucking a wheel and a piece of wood and let us know.
Frankenstein was very popular in the era. They had to.
I still need to. I need to figure out what happened here. So, a second figure burst out of cover, running for the trees. The party took aim, but McCannon yelled. So
basically, Felipe took one of the posse members' coats
when
and ran in the midst of one of them when they killed his brother. I guess he snuck up and took one of their coats and then ran through open trees to escape. And they were going to shoot him, but then the head of the posse was like, "No, that's one of ours." And then right before he escaped, he kind of like rolled around, did a little smile, and disappeared into the trees.
It's the oldest trick in the book. Just wear the opponent's uniform and they think you're on their team.
For God's sake, don't kill Billy Young.
For God's sake, don't kill Billy Young. Okay, great escape, I guess. I mean, how did Billy Young just get his jacket stolen off his body?
Yeah, tough look for Bill.
I think they just had similar jackets. Otherwise, Billy Young, I mean, you're an inside job. Like, what are you doing? Unless Billy Young, like, went into battle and, like, took off his jacket, was, like, whipping it around his head and, like, yeah, we're going to go kill this guy, and then threw it. Otherwise, I don't understand how it gets so far away from Billy Young that it gets picked up. Maybe McCannon's on the inside job. Something sketchy happened. His last years. The summer of 1863 was quiet as Felipe The summer of 1863 was quiet as Felipe, as he sequestered near his old home and reeled from his brother's death, sinking even deeper into madness. Yeah, right? Like, this guy's already got a lot of he's basically the Michael Jordan of Wild West serial killers. Like, he's invented his own enemies so many times over. Now you actually gave him a real enemy. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, and I think the bigger thing with Felipe seeing his brother die, now probably realizes he's not getting to that 600 number. So if I'm Felipe, which
if you're Felipe, what would you do, Jake? Because want to know what Felipe did?
You go into the dark hole, but then, jumping into Felipe's brain, I would be thinking, like, what's the most kills / biggest scene I can make?
Okay, well, here's what Felipe did. He went to his brother's death site, exhumed the body, and removed a foot as a keepsake.
Yeah. Good luck.
So, I mean, how is he carrying around his dead brother's foot? Did he put it on a necklace?
Like a rabbit foot.
I mean, what? And then he resumed his killing spree. He tapped in his 14-year-old nephew, Jose Vicente.
I told you this story is unreal.
I mean, what's he do with the foot?
Tough spot for Jose, because, I mean, you can't say no, because then he's just going to kill you, right?
Yeah. And then you're like, this is my brother's foot. Maybe, what if he puts Jose in charge of carrying the foot? He probably did, man. He probably made Jose carry that foot. This is your uncle's foot.
I think I'd find a way to carry the foot.
After one, I think I'd just get a boot and then tie the laces and then string the laces of the boot over my shoulder with the foot still in it. And that way I'm not touching foot.
There's a way to tastefully carry the foot.
Okay. After one more killing, Felipe would make another mistake. On October 10th, only days into his renewed campaign, Felipe was drunk on tequila when the Espinosas attempted to hold up a wagon. The two passengers jumped off and eluded their assailants, eventually making their way to Fort Garland and its commander, Lieutenant Colonel Samuel Tappan. So the mistake was that they just got drunk?
Yeah, drunk or didn't get the kill. Yeah.
Tappan knew just the man to reel in Felipe Espinosa. Thomas Tate Tobin. Dude, what a name. What was Murdoch's last name?
McPherson.
Murdoch McPherson and Thomas Tate Tobin. Thomas Tate Tobin? Come on. Well, Thomas Tate Totem was a mountain guide who could repeatedly track a grasshopper through sagebrush. He had worked with Wild Bill Hickok and Buffalo Bill Cody was well known for his prowess. Oh my God, look at this image of Thomas Tate.
Pretty cool for Thomas Tate Tobin. Oh, yeah.
I mean, this dude's what, 5 foot? 5 foot nothing?
Tough to say. I mean, maybe that's a really big gun.
I got this guy at 5'1" max.
Doesn't seem like a tall guy. He's kind of has an 1800s Red from that 70s show look going on. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thomas Tate Tobin. I think I'm going to like him. Tappan summoned the guide to Fort Garland. Around midnight on October 12th, Tobin and 15 Union soldiers set out. He reportedly grudgingly took them with him. Yeah, that would be a Thomas Tate Tobin. I got to bring you bastards with me. He's so small. He's so short.
And this is so dumb. Everything Thomas Tate Tobin does is grudgingly. If you see one picture of him, I just compared him to Red Foreman, arguably one of the most grudged father characters ever on television.
You're right. Thomas Tate Totem never was like enthusiastic or energetic. He was like, guess I got to track down this killer too.
Yeah.
You know, everything was kind of a thorn in the side for Thomas Tate Totem.
Yeah.
Especially like he's so small and nimble. You know, he can hide behind a bush. Now he's got 15 Union soldiers going to mess them all up. So,
that was total. He might have been the first inventor of the like, hey, if you're on my tour, like you better follow my rules. There's no jokes in the wilderness. You don't listen to me, you're dead out here.
Yep. TTT stalked the outlaws for 3 days and nights, following them from campsite to campsite, allowing his own party only 4 hours of sleep a night. Tobin sent home any soldier who grew exhausted. So he's just trying to outlast them right now. He wants them gone. Yeah.
Oh, like you're a soldier.
If you yawned, TTT was like, you're out.
Yeah.
Yawning on a manhunt. TTT always kind of talked to the gods, you know, like always kind of muttering to someone like, can't believe I got to take them with me. You know, he's always muttering.
Ooh, see, I don't have him talking to the gods. I think TTT's not a God-fearing man.
I don't mean the gods. I mean someone. Like maybe it's like, you know, a brother or a dad. He's always muttering, and there's someone on the other end in his mind.
Okay.
Maybe it's a dog. Maybe he's muttering to his dog the whole way, because it's usually just him and the dog tracking people. Yeah, I like that. So anyway, early on October 15th, 1863, Tobin saw in the distance magpies circling amid rising smoke. Ordering the soldiers to hold back, he crawled forward with his trusty Hawken muzzleloader in hand. He found Felipe and his nephew Jose cooking meat over a small fire. When Felipe rose to his feet and stretched, Tobin squeezed the trigger. The ball smashed into the outlaw's side and sent him toppling into the fire. Jose took one look at his fallen uncle and dashed for the trees. TTT quickly rammed another ball down his barrel, raised his rifle, and fired again. Pow! The ball caught Jose in the spine, killing him instantly. Got him.
Not sure why the soldiers even came.
Yeah. And then he turned to his soldiers and said, "Fuck, I told you I didn't need you." Tobin walked over and stood over Felipe, who was crawling out of the fire. I thought the bullet in the spine killed him instantly. Mixed reports.
Yeah, a little conflicting.
He grabbed the dying man by the hair, took out his Bowie knife, and with 2 blows separated Felipe's head from his body. America's first serial killer was no more. Okay. Mutilated.
How many men had TTT killed that 2 swipes with his Bowie knife? He chopped the head off.
I'm like going to be very honest, and I'm a fan of TTT, but again, I'll throw the picture on the screen for anyone watching on YouTube. That man didn't slice a head off with 2 slices. Not while holding the hair. You would need like a samurai sword, whoosh, you know, or an axe.
You think
he just went through it like birthday cake?
You think the King Woodsman of the Wild West didn't have a sharp knife?
No, I don't know anything about cutting heads off. But like, I think you'd need a pretty sharp knife, you know?
Not that different from an animal.
Look at this guy.
My experience.
Just don't know. I just don't know if I buy it. He could have, Jake, but you know. Also, I thought he was dead in the spine already, so I don't. There's a lot of confusion.
Dead but wiggling, sure.
That was his nephew was the one that got shot in the spine. Felipe was shot first and then fell in the fire.
Oh.
And the nephew ran, and then they killed the nephew.
Jose in the spine.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, interesting.
Man, how about Felipe shot in the side, crawling in the fire?
Yeah, it's good drama.
I mean, that's how a serial killer goes out.
Later that evening at Fort Garland, Colonel Tappan welcomed into his office Thomas Tate Totem, back sooner than expected with a burlap sack strung over his shoulder. Tappan was reportedly confused, asking why Tobin was back so soon. Tobin simply replied by turning the bag upside down to let the heads of Felipe and Jose Vicente roll onto the floor. The head of Felipe Espinosa became something of a traveling act around the state of Colorado. Floating in a jar of alcohol, the head reportedly sat on the desk of the editor of the Fairplay Flume. Oh, the Fairplay Flume. It's a great title of a newspaper. And later in the offices of the Rocky Mountain News. After that, however, seemingly the head disappeared. I'm sure someone was like, let's get this fucking head out of here.
Let's find out.
One 1980s newspaper article is aptly titled, "Where is Felipe's Head?" A rumor even went around Colorado's Capitol building during its renovation that an unknown preserved head was discovered, stored in the Capitol's basement, and then tragically incinerated. And that is the story of the crusade of Felipe Espinosa. Damn. And we have another picture of our dude, TTT, with a walking stick. And again, like no bigger than 5 foot. I mean, shit, man. What was all that? That was a wild story.
Do you think that the person who took the head could have been another one of Felipe's family members? Like Felipe grabbed the foot of his brother. Now another family member is grabbing the head of Felipe and carrying it around.
Nah, man. I think like, you know how my dad had this shirt. It's like a rugby shirt that he got in Australia. Just god awfully ugly, but it must have been comfortable. So my dad would wear it and doing yard work and around the house. And eventually he went to his closet and it was just in the garbage. And then, you know, like 2 years later, he's like, oh yeah, what happened to that shirt? My mom says, well, it was hideous. So I threw it out. I think, you know, you have a secretary or someone in the newspaper building, maybe the janitor that cleans up at night. I can't look at this human head anymore. I'm just going to toss this into the incinerator. Someone probably got sick of staring at the head in the jar. If I'm being honest, I think someone just tossed it.
Yeah, at some point humanity kicked in and they said, no more dead heads in the office.
No more dead heads in this office. And then it went down like that.
It's not a conversation.
Yeah, but no.
A lot of movie.
No.
I mean, that's
damn.
one of the things you don't put open to a vote.
Yeah, you cannot because then you out people as deadhead enthusiasts. You know.
Yeah, and then you get people voting that way just to vote that way. This is a fantastic movie. I mean, I think the only thing, TTT, I mean, that's a great character. Felipe, obviously, he's the murderer. You have his brother. You have the fall of his brother. I mean, I think you add a character or two to make it a full featured film, but this is it.
So I think the next question is who plays Felipe and who plays TTT?
Well, TTT is so easy to cast. He may be too old now. But TTT is let me just I'm blanking on his name right now, so I need to I mean you guys are going to know who I'm talking about immediately.
Okay. You wanna
I
give
just
us
need
hints?
no, what's the Kevin Costner open range and Robert Duvall. I mean,
Okay.
he is Robert Duvall in open range
Like
is
that.
he is TTT. I'll bring up a picture for you guys, and I think everyone's going to be with me here. You know, the only reason he wouldn't do it is because he's already played this character in open range. But I mean, come on, right?
Yeah.
That's
Bobby Duvall's on point.
I mean, you know, yeah, Robert Duvall, he was like muttering. Maybe it was his wife or someone in that movie. It's a great movie. You haven't seen Open Range, but yeah, so that's easy. And then Felipe, the guy from No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, I mean, it gets not racist, but I mean, you obviously want a Mexican actor of some sort. I mean, Danny Trejo popped to mind. I think you'd want a younger Danny Trejo. Who's this guy?
The guy from Westworld.
Oh yeah,
I might be looking at that guy right now.
What's his name?
Yeah. He's good. He was in Extract too. I can find his name quickly that way. And he was in the Little League World Series movie. His name is Clifton Collins Jr. Yes, we just cast it. He's great.
Okay. God, Diego Luna is apparently a really big name. Get him in the mix.
Diego what?
Diego Luna.
I mean,
hey, Luke, what do you think? I want to hear what Luke thought of this.
All right, hold on. Clifton Collins also, I'm going to show you. Like he's also, is this Westworld? I mean, this is we're set. We've cast our two main characters.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
I don't know if we're too biased because we're just picking from movies that are literally in the Wild West too.
They did play that character.
Age and race of movies in the Wild West, so we're just
typecast is a thing, you know.
Yeah.
Give me Diego Luna. He's coming off Star Wars. Yeah.
Danny DeVito as TTT.
Too short. Too small.
Diego Luna's really good too, especially with the longer hair. I was imagining him with long hair. This was a wild story.
Yeah, man. That's where I was like, do you need love interest or something like that? But this is pretty much a movie.
I think the detail, you needed the detail. It's tough for you guys to read, but it's necessary.
Some of them blow. Some of them are pretty tough. We didn't hear a lot more about his victims though, just kind of that he kept killing, but that's good. The first victim.
I feel like once you got Henry Harkins out of the way, you got a good idea about
good idea of what was going on. Yeah, for sure. All right, that was a wild one. I mean, I never heard that story before. I was honestly pretty crazy. Jake, you got any final thoughts?
I think I'd like to get Selena Gomez in the movie, if nothing else, just for some PR type stuff.
Well, you need the first act needs to be basically the wife that he made marry him against her own will, like held hostage, and at some point she needs to escape, and then she should be the one that taps in TTT in the movie version, and not, the government. It should be, that's how you get the lover in the mix. He was like a forced wife. When they run out the back door, somehow she runs the other way with the kids. Then she runs into TTT, lets them know where the bodies are. It's kind of like her. That's a totally fictionalized version, but
she's in the office of Samuel Tappan when they come back and say, "Hey, some drunk on tequila just tried to kill us." Yeah, sure.
Maybe, and then she's the one that gets rid of the head because she's like, this guy. She's so scared of him still. She's like, I don't want him preserved in any way.
She eats the head, rite of passage.
Wow. Could be. All right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode. This is Laughs from the Past. Leave a review on iTunes if that's how you listen, or Apple. Leave a comment on YouTube if you watch on there. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.